Welcome into the Stokastic.com live before lock show. We're here to get you ready for tonight's UFC 277. Lock is in 1 hour from now there in Dallas, Texas. We got two title fight. Both are rematches. Of course, Juliana Pena making her first bantamweight title defense against Amanda Nunes. And then you've got the interim flyweight title. Bram Moreno taking on Kai Kara-France, the current flyweight champion. Davison Figueiredo will be in the building tonight watching these two go at it. Of course, we're here to break this one down for you. Of course, you know the drill. Got any questions, line those up over in the YouTube chat, also in our Discord chat as well. I got a couple questions in on Discord. Of course, if you throw a super chat, we do appreciate those, and those questions will go to the top of the queue. And we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Talk about some of those PrizePicks props here later on in the show. Of course, as always, I'm joined by the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Pete, how you doing, bro?
What is going on? What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Thanks for joining us. Couple hours until we take down that 200K. I cannot wait. And it's been fun creating lineups this week, and some interesting matchups, some interesting salaries, and can't wait to hear what you guys have for questions.
Of course, yesterday two fighters did miss weight: Orion Koski and Jocelyn Edwards. For me, the Kosuke miss is not really a big deal because I didn't think he looked sucked in on the scale. My perception of the situation is a business decision was made of, hey, you know what? We're trying to grapple F this guy. So why deplenish our body? Let's miss weight. Let's just give away 20% of our purse. We know this guy is not going to want to grapple us anyway. I think that was a business decision. Now, the Jocelyn Edwards one, I think that's somewhat of note because she was coming back down to 135 from a fight at 145 pounds. But to me, Orion Kosuke is still a core point for me today.
Yeah, so that fight's interesting, and a lot of people want to fade a fighter who's missed weight. There was a large period of time where fighters who missed weight had an extremely high winning record. And I also think it's matchup dependent and stylistically, you have to look at it and see, does it benefit the guy? Now, the one worry I do have about Kosi is his ability to maintain a pace for 15 minutes. So I do worry about him gassing out. We have seen him gas in the Phil Rowe fight a little bit, and Rowe is a different type of fighter than Blood Diamond, in my opinion. I'm not sure Blood Diamond's even a talented striker. We hear about his reputation, and he's in the UFC because of his relationship with Izzy. But I don't know, man. I just, everything I see on tape, it's just like his striking doesn't really look all that incredible. He throws things from odd angles, so something could definitely touch him. And if Kosi did have some injuries or some absolute horrible weight cut, like a horrible weight cut, then perhaps he could touch the chin and get Kosi out of there, especially if he gasses. But for me, I'm kind of neutral to it. I don't want it to affect my ownership too much. I hope that the takedowns happen, and I hope that he's just a little bit heavier on Blood Diamond to make him, carry that weight in hopes that he doesn't gas out.
In terms of roster construction for today, so here's what I did. This was my game theory today. So I'm using our tools over at Stokastic.com. I'm plugging those into Cruncher, making some little tweaks here and there, throwing my randomness, my uniques, but also today I'm creating groups. I got very aggressive today on my groups. Group number one was the title fights, putting those four fighters in one group and telling Cruncher that I wanted between one and two of those fighters in every lineup. So I while I believe the likely scenario is that both fights will be optimal because of 5 rounds to work with, let me throw some lineups out there that fade one of the fights in case one of them is not optimal. The second group I put together was the 2 heavyweight fights, saying give me 1 or 2 of these fighters in every lineup because I think both those fights are going to be optimal. I think that when you look at the Hamdi and Dontel Mays fight, Hamdi has first round upside. Tough to avoid him at the $11 over on FanDuel. Dontel Mays, even though Hamdi does have a wrestling background, we have seen him more utilize wrestling in the past. I think that's a fight that's over within 10 minutes. And then Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich. Look, both these guys love to throw bombs. I believe someone's getting knocked out. Derek Lewis this week, one of the things that he's really talked about is the fact of all the changes that he's made leading into this matchup, entire new coaching staff, a coaching staff that basically is not allowing him to get away with anything. And he said he is searching for the first round knockout. So to me, and then I went to an underdog pool of looking at fighters underneath 8,000 that I wanted to get to. Nikolai was in that group. Rafael Alves was in that group. Alex Morono was in that group as well with a couple of their fighters. That's my general game theory today of, trying to get different than the field.
Jason, I got to tell you, man, good work with those groups, because I'm on the same page with you on a lot of that. Having Cruncher help you out, getting to at least one of the title fights makes a ton of sense. I would say large majority of my lineups have both of them, just because of the salaries seem to be in a sweet spot, and also how I predict that these fights are going to go. I got to a lot of them, but I can definitely see the flyweight matchup being a little bit competitive on the feet, and it coming down to that 5th round. So maybe you have mediocre scores, whereas in some other matchups, we have some volatile fights that could lead to 100+ points. I also took a stand today. I know that he is extremely expensive and a lot of people might be going underweight to him. I went a little bit more aggressive on Michael Morales today, just because of, dealing with a short notice replacement against, Fugit, who is definitely, he's tough and he has skills, but I don't think that this is a fight that he's set up to win. And I think as long as Michael Morales goes out there, he can use his wrestling to keep it on the feet. He can mix in takedowns whenever he wants. I think that he is clearly the better striker here, and he will get a knockout. It's just at that price tag, you are limited to X amount of lineup construction, and it does make it a little difficult, but I want it to be slightly overweight, because I feel like naturally a lot of people are going to see that price tag and go elsewhere.
And obviously there's fights that to me I want to look at as leverage spots, as I kind of look at our ownership projections over at Stokastic.com. And that first fight of the night, I think is a potential leverage spot there, because look, if Blood Diamond can pull it off, it's going to be by knockout. It's going to be early in that fight. If Kosuke is able to pull it off, it's because he's able to use that grappling. That's a fight that, do you trust either guy right now? No, you don't. But man, I think that the winner of that fight is probably going to be 90, 100+ points in that one. Other ones, look, the Hamdi Dontel Mays fight, I think ownership is a little low on that aspect. Anthony Smith is just getting essentially no ownership at all. Look, obviously very talented fighter. I believe he's going to have to stop the takedowns. That's going to be a key one in terms of that one. So that's what I'm looking at there. Like when it comes to core plays, Brandon Moreno is my core play today. And Brandon Moreno does not win tonight, my lineups are screwed.
Yeah, I'm not taking the typical approach of mine where I just lock in somebody and go 100%. Some weeks I'll do that and it works out really well. Coming off a week where it did not work well with Mason Jones, I cannot do that 2 weeks in a row. So I'm a little spread out today, and there are some fights that I'm extremely torn on. The Mays and the Hamdi fight for sure, the Semmelsberger and the Morono fight. Outside of that, like, if you want to talk about somebody in the 8K range that I think is extremely talented and has so many ways to win, it's Alexandre Pantoja. And what he's done in the division, he's going up against a guy who hasn't had fights and hasn't been acclimated in the cage. Some of them are his fault, some of them aren't. But the reality is that Pantoja is on the up, and Perez is just looking to get back in the cage and happy to be there. That could still result in a loss for Pantoja, but I'm just saying I like the momentum behind Alexandre.
Appreciate everyone that's already tuning in here for Live for Lock. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. Let's get those likes over 200 before we get out of here. Of course, coming up after us will be MLB Live for Lock. Those guys will get you ready for tonight's main slate for MLB action. And today's free premium day and tools over at Stokastic.com is MLB ownership projections. Yeah, Jordan, I almost said it. I said the A word. I almost said the full A word. Did go there. Got Jordan Klein on the ones too. Is our guy Tyler's actually at the UFC here tonight. We got Stokastic is in the building. I know just Josh and Adam are there as well. So appreciate everyone tuned in here for Live Before Lock. Prop bets. I wanted to kind of mention some prop bets. Some interesting prop bets that stuck out to me as I was looking at it. The main event, I got a prop bet on each side that I think is kind of juicy. Nunes via submission plus 550.
I mean, Pena was submitted in the past against, fighters. I think it was Jermaine Durandamy.
Jermaine Durandamy. When we think submission artist, no one thinks Jermaine Durandamy.
And I think that's why it occurred, because it was, it was just such an odd occasion that she didn't really prep for any of that. I actually think in that title fight that Juliana Pena sitting there to win via submission is going to be everybody's path and what they're going to choose, because they've seen it happen already at plus 650. I don't foresee this going 5 rounds. I think that early on it favors Nunes. The later this fight gets dragged out, the more it starts to favor Pena with that pace and cardio. So I'm going to take a sprinkle on Pena via TKO KO sitting at plus 1100. I don't think she's going to knock her out, but I think it could be like, a ton of ground and pound of unanswered strikes. You know what I mean? From like full mount or something. We've seen that happen on The Ultimate Fighter. And when she goes, she has a ridiculous pace.
That was the prop I was going to mention on Juliana Pena. In the co-main event, Bram Moreno via submission plus 350.
Yep. Like that.
Derek Lewis via TKO KO plus 165.
Yep.
Rafael Alves via submission, which to me is his path to victory, plus 350. Okay. And if you really wanted to get crazy, Ankalaev via submission plus 1100.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that one. I'm definitely not with you on that one, but that's okay. Sometimes Jason will find these things that I agree with or I don't agree with, and hindsight's 2020. It's like, man, I shouldn't have been so dismissive towards that. Yeah, the under in the first fight of the night, I think, is something that that warrants some ownership and also like some of your money, because I don't foresee Blood Diamond and Kosi going the distance. If it does, I would like to think that it's takedown city. Kosi just taking Blood Diamond to the mat over and over and over and just laying on him.
And from a DFS perspective, that may not be a bad thing.
No, I'm okay with it. I mean, Kosi, I think, is in a decent amount of my lineup, so. He's in that sweet spot where I was like, okay, I can put him in, and as long as he doesn't gas out, I like the odds. It's just it's a little scary because I know how volatile that matchup's going to be.
Mention some questions we got over in the Discord chat before we get into super chats. First up was changes in our thought process since the strategy show on Thursday. For me, I found myself getting to more Derek Lewis and more Amanda Nunes than I would have expected after doing the show on Thursday.
I'm virtually 50-50 on the Derek Lewis and Pavlovich fight. I don't think that's going to go the distance. If it does go the distance, I think that Pavlovich has a much more well-rounded game where he can, win more minutes. We've seen Derek Lewis kind of just wait a little bit too much, and his, being too hesitant has led to some of his losses. I am super heavy on that fight, like super heavy on the Pavlovich Lewis fight.
The other question we got over before the show in Discord was, how much is too much Don'Tale Mayes?
I'll tell you what, up until late last night, I didn't have much Don'Tale Mayes. And I said to myself, I go through it and I'm looking and I'm like, who am I just completely overlooking? And I found myself overlooking Poteria a little bit. So I got to him, even though I do like him in the matchup, but also Don'Tale Mayes, pretty similar price. The 8K is stacked. So, I made a couple lineups avoiding the 9,000 options. Don'Tale Mayes is in a tricky spot because it's heavyweight MMA. I don't think he's the best guy out there. I think that he looked good against Parisian, had good takedowns. I don't think he's going to be able to, necessarily do the same thing, but I do favor him in the matchup, and that one's going to be action early on. So I got the Hamdi a decent amount, and I'm not comfortable with it. It's just a matchup that I can see ending with pretty good points.
I heard the story about Hamdi. His first fight, he won by knockout. He knocked dude out cold.
Yeah.
Apparently, he thought he killed the guy because the guy just out cold wasn't even moving.
Jeez, that might be your first fight and your last fight, right? Like that's quite traumatizing. So that's the last thing we want to see, somebody get injured. And the cards lately have been littered with injuries, especially in the main event. So shout out to Tom Aspinall, shout out to Ortega. Can we please have a full slate where no injuries or eye pokes or disqualifications occur? I'm not trying to have something weird happen tonight.
Let's get right into the super chats here. Liker, appreciate it. He says, if Nunes truly conquers her cardio issue, do you guys see any way that Pena could possibly beat her if she's truly at her best? Okay, let me talk about this cardio issue. Do people forget she has won 4 title fights in 25-minute decisions?
Okay,
look, I understand. We're in a sport where we remember the last thing we saw. But I'm not saying she's a cardio queen or anything.
She's not. But
I feel like people have kind of forgotten, she has gone 25 minutes.
Yeah, but
when you talk to people who are in Dallas this week, the one thing has been said to me is they say Nunes looks the best she's looked in years.
I don't believe that at all. Those people, you need to talk to them. They need to go see a local psych, because I'm not backing that at all. I don't see how you can leave the best gym in the world and be better. I just don't see that. You have the best coaching staff. You have the best training partners. Now you're trying to do your own thing. I understand. But yeah, you've been 25 minutes before, but she's largely been the better wrestler in those performances, or she hasn't been the nail. I think that Pena's very, very strong, and it's the pace, and styles make fights. So if she went 5 rounds with Jermaine Durand and me, scored 8 takedowns, 5 rounds with Felicia Spencer, scored 6 takedowns. Okay. Split decision over Valentina Shevchenko. Obviously, I hold Shevchenko in a much higher regard than Amanda Nunes. So that's impressive. But I think that, the cardio is a true Achilles heel. Think about what Kat Zingano did back in 2014. And I'm not trying to hang this over.
Eight years ago, bro. 8 years ago.
But guess what? Last time that Pena fought her, the same exact issues, just came about again. So 8 years ago, but some things don't change.
How much of that was the knee injury?
I'm not buying it. I'm telling you, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it. And I may be off.
I mean, look, I don't know what to expect out of Amanda Nunes, but if you tell me prime Amanda Nunes walks into the cage tonight, I expect her to roll. I really do. Now, look, if Pena, what concerns me about what I've seen out of what Pena's coaches have talked about, what she's talked about, I do wonder, is there a false sense of security that she thinks she can stand and bang with Amanda Nunes? If she goes in with that mindset, now look, go back and watch their first fight. First round was Amanda Nunes was looking good. And then the second round is when everything went downhill. Now, look, on the ATT thing, there's 2 sides of the story. Actually, there's really 3 sides of the story. Yeah, there's going to be her version, ATT's version, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Now, the fact is, if she was truly as injured as she says she was, she has her wife saying, you need to pull out of this fight, and the coaches are not telling her to pull out of this fight. Maybe that's part of the issue. But I'm just saying, look, for me, if Pena's going to win this fight, she has to utilize grappling. If she tries to sit there and have a kickboxing match with Amanda Nunes, to me, Amanda Nunes regains her title.
All right. Well, a lot's going to come down to the line, because when it's the main event, Jason's going to have a lot more Amanda Nunes than I have. So one of us is going to be right.
I'll tell you right now, I have 55% Amanda Nunes.
Okay. And that's fair. I think that is fair for a woman who's accomplished so much. I'm just not there today. And if I lose, I lose.
So one of our members says, ask Pete how much Pena he has.
A lot. Not Mason Jones amount, but a lot. I have a lot of. I think I'm 3/4 of my lineup's Pena. Yep. Is she just too cheap? She's too cheap. We've already seen this fight.
You get into the White Claws a little early today?
No White Claws. Just what I think of how the fight can go. Everybody's thinking that Amanda Nunes can have a better performance. What happens if she has a worse performance? That's a whole mental hurdle. She has not been bullied in the cage like that in quite some time. So I really think that if she goes to the well and thinking how she's going to bail herself out with a big right hand and it doesn't happen, we could see the same thing except worse. I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We chose violence today. We're not friends today. We chose violence.
Hey, it's good conversation. Like this is my thing. Was December the A+ version of Juliana Pena?
Yeah,
and
could be.
Was that now look, I think there's also part of this is how much are we potentially seeing the downfall of Man Nunes? I mean, look, when fighters get to 35 years and older, the reality is there is going to be a regression outside of heavyweight MMA. When you talk non-heavyweight MMA, typically this is the type of age you start to see a little bit of regression there. I mean, like, look, I want to get to both sides of this fight. By the way, I've got 30, I think it was like 40% Pena on my crunches. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm high on her as well, but I just think that I'm looking at this saying, if Prime Man Nunes walks through the door and she is healthy, there's no issues, and we're not seeing a worn down Man Nunes in round 2. Now, look, if you tell me who do I think wins a 5-round decision?
Oh, come on. Okay, I'll tell you what. Think about this from Vegas.
You don't know what Pena looks like in 25 minutes. We know what Nunes looks like.
Okay, I don't think. Okay, so, so for this, right? Like, man, I don't know, man. I'm telling you right now, everybody's expecting it to be a different type of fight, and I don't think it's going to be. Like the size of Pena, the pace of Pena, and everything outside, like leaving American Top. I've trained an American Top team. I know what's going on in that room. Obviously, not to the extent of the ins and outs of everything, but like the training partners. I think that Pena is going to be a little bit more prepared, and we'll have to see. But as far as like,
I mean, it's not like Pena's not at a big gym either,
bro. But she's at the gym with Bilal Muhammad, and that gym's on the up. But you can't say that.
It's not a mega gym.
It's not, but how many are there? Not many.
4 to 5.
Right.
Two of them are in South Florida.
Exactly. But like, there's a reason why Bilal Muhammad trains there. Ignacio Bahamondes, like Juliana Pena. There's so many people on the rise in that gym.
The one thing that Nunes has done a great job, and her team has done a great job of, you have no idea who she's working with. Who did she bring in? Because she is a rarity in the sport, Pete, where she can afford to pay top dollar to bring in training partners. She
can afford that. She didn't even know the name of the guy who she was training with. They asked her about her training partners. Oh, this guy, he's good at jiu-jitsu. Like, bro, come on. Like, you want to, like, I brought in Jordan Burroughs. I want, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even know the name of your training partner. I don't know. Maybe I'm really wrong today. I don't think I am. We shall see.
You might get a intoxicated text from me later on.
That's okay.
But of course, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Of course, if you want to get access to all the great tools and data we have over at Stokastic.com, you got to sign up for a Stokastic Plus Platinum Pass, and we have got a great offer. If you are a new user of Stokastic Plus, as you can save 50% off your first week of any Stokastic Plus weekly pass, so you can hop over, get that MMA weekly pass, and get 50% off right now. Use that promo code MMALBL, all caps, one word, MMALBL, for 50% off your first week of Stokastic Plus Platinum. What's
twice?
Twice already, man. I've been pretty good about not saying that anymore. I've been pretty good about not saying that anymore.
A lot better than
Stokastic Plus, of course, gets access to that top fighter tool. I will tell you, when I pulled up that top fighter tool, I was surprised. I thought the Pena ownership would be higher.
Yeah, I don't really know why people. Okay, I remember what I wanted to say. From Vegas, right? Vegas always setting trap lines. We always think about trap lines, right? For Amanda Nunes to be almost minus 800, minus 1,000 favorite, whatever she was over Juliana Pena, to now be an extremely affordable line. It's going to attract a ton of people. I mean, you have Amanda Nunes sitting there at minus 255, right? Naturally, everybody's going to compare the last odds to these odds and say, wow, like, this is an extreme value that we're getting on Amanda Nunes. And it could be, but I feel like it's set because they want to trap and lure you into this. even though we've seen this fight already play out. We shall see.
Look, it's great value on Julian Pena, no question about it.
Yeah.
Richie, I appreciate your $50 super chat. It's his new chair for Pete fund.
Oh man, Richie the man. Appreciate you so much. Every single person in here would appreciate you. Richie, shout out to you. I know you've been a fantastic DFS player, and I hope everybody has a solid week.
Yeah, we're all trying to get those turbines. Next up, we got Sam Pierce says best DK captain and best non-popular DK captain. So looking over here at the captain contest, let's see here. I mean, I'm big on Brad Moreno, 12-3.
Yep.
You know, the takedown upside, I really like there. If I was going to kind of look for someone maybe down in the equation that I felt confident in. Ooh, maybe Pantoja at 11-7.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That's not bad at all. I mean, if you put Pena in there, you just have salary for days. You can get to anything you want. But obviously, she is going up against Amanda Nunes. Like, it's still Amanda Nunes. I'm not discrediting her skill. I just think that, you know, all fighters age, and sometimes, you know, you can see certain fighters decline, and I wonder if we're there. But I would have to say pound for pound value for captain would be Moreno 1A, Pantoja 1B.
Non-popular
In the same contest?
Yeah, in the same contest.
I'd say Kai Car France. You got 5 rounds, but
yeah,
you know,
that's a good one there. Let's get some other super chats here. Sam goes, I don't think Moreno or Kai Car France will be optimal on DK. Strikes don't count well, as I'm fading that fight. The thing where Brand Moreno is, to me, the difference is the takedowns. He does have that ability. Would not surprise me. You see him go in there with takedowns with James Krause system to potentially, rack up some points that way.
Yeah. So I'd like to kind of touch on this real quick. I made some lineups where I was a little light on this fight. Most of my lineups are favoring Moreno, because if he does present the grappling, I think it could be a big problem for Kai Car France, who gives up his back a lot en route to a Moreno submission. I can really see this happening, especially for 5 rounds. I think it favors Moreno. The issue I do have with Moreno is how hittable he is and how he was dropped 3 times against Davison Figueiredo. So massive power going up against a power striker who has volume, doesn't hit as hard as Davison Figueiredo. But if that chin has gone at all, I made sure to make a recency bias lineup where, you know, like kind of like expecting Derek Lewis's chin and him to look worse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I made a nice little recency bias lineup, and you can do that on stokastic.fantasycruncher.com, getting to, making your groups and helping you create some lineups.
Sam then goes on, says Moreno and France will go the distance, not optimal. I think it's going to hit the championship rounds, but I think we're going to see a stoppage at some point in the 4th and 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
Just my gut feeling on that one.
I do think a finish occurs, but we shall see.
Yeah. Corey, he's got the next one. He says, Pete, you're my boy, but you're tripping about Pena.
I might be, and I might be. I'm not always on with some of these, but I do have a good feeling about Pena tonight, and I can't wait to see it.
Look, I like having these heated discussions with you, man.
I'm cool with it. Hey, I'm definitely cool with it.
Trust me, we'll probably be texting, talking crap to each other all night.
Oh yeah, people don't even know. Yeah, exactly.
Sam goes, Pete, you dream about your fights last night?
No, I didn't dream about any fights. I didn't dream about who's going to make it into the optimal lineup, like I have in the past. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not going to lie and say I had a dream about somebody, but I didn't.
Eddie says 3 must-haves for a DraftKings GPP.
Okay. 3 must-haves.
Well, Brad Moreno will be my number 1.
Okay.
I mean, if I was just going to tell you the fights, and to me, it's the 2 heavyweight fights, but like, The problem is though, like the ones that I look at as must-haves are all very expensive fighters, and then it's going to force you to have to go down that rabbit hole of fighters underneath 70, 7,500.
Yeah, I mean, the value, like a lot of the underdogs, like I'm sprinkling in some of them in, but like it's really hard for me to get away from a Kai Kara France or a Juliana Pena. It just allows so much. You can get to anything.
Look, I mean, like I like Michael Morales. Koski is another one that I like.
Mm-hmm.
If Ankalaev does go the takedown route, he could put up a massive score. But the problem is he's also very expensive to get to.
Yeah, and his lethargic output and how patient he is because he's afraid of making mistakes. I think he doesn't pay off the price tag more times than he does. You know what I mean? Like I think that just his style of fighting isn't a round one type of guy. Anthony Smith could bring it out of him, which could lead to him getting finished. But if it's up to Ankalaev, I think that he's content with taking his time, picking his opponents apart, en route to a decisive victory. So I'm a lot lighter on Ankalaev than I am on Morales. But I do think that they are two of the best plays on the slate from an odds perspective and, just of how they can rack up points.
Richie comes in and says, chances Nunes fights relatively timid in the first and makes it really hard to be optimal.
Yep, absolutely.
I can see both sides. I can see that. I can see the point where I think it would be more likely she comes out timid because of that first fight. But maybe the thought process is by Roger Crawl, her new head coach, of, hey, let's bring her right to Juliana. Let's send a message right at the start of the fight of, this is a fight. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't like that though. I don't think that's a good strategy, because what happens if she's still there? And it's pretty reminiscent to the first fight, right? Like that's exactly what happened. I think, Amanda's so dependent on her confidence, where when she's able to see you hurt and she thinks that she's going to get a quick finish, she's a good bully. She bullies a lot of her opponents in there. But if somebody starts to, push her back like Juliana Pena did, stood toe to toe, which I thought was stupid because I was waiting for one of those shots to land and her to go down. You saw, a different version of Amanda Nunes, and that's that same Amanda Nunes I saw in that Kat Zingano fight where she got completely ragdolled.
Yeah. Sam says, he goes, I see Pavlovich winning. Why do you see Lewis winning? I mean, look, here's the one thing about Pavlovich is, yes, he's put together a nice winning streak here, but the level of competition has been against, where you have Derek Lewis, who's been fighting top 10 talent for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. There is that unknown of Lewis always seems to have some type of entry. This is probably a matchup of who's just going to connect first.
Yeah. I'm neutral to it, right? Like I have a ton of Lewis and a ton of Pavlovich. Obviously Lewis has fought the stronger competition, but he was just knocked out pretty bad against Tai Tuivasa. And I had a golden rule where I wouldn't roster anybody who's just coming off a recent knockout. So if these guys weren't heavyweights and it wasn't at this 8,200, 8,000 price tag, I'm not sure I would be getting to much of Lewis, but the salaries just make it a little too difficult to avoid.
Of course, do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks. They've got their daily base prop contest. Of course, we use that promo code. Also, they got an instant first match deposit of up to $100. And of course, on the strategy show, I mentioned one of the props that stuck out to me was Jakar Close. Significant strikes, 60.5. Well, that number's gone. That is now 64.5. So if you didn't hit that number is gone for you here. But in terms of the props that the top two that stick out to me, first up, I'm going to go over to takedowns. Bram Moreno at 1. Give me the over.
Yeah, that's a terrible line. Take that to the bank. He's getting over 1 takedown.
Fight time. Orion Koski 8.5. I like the under.
Yeah. No comment on that one. I don't know if I would play that one.
The ones, the line movements that there has been over at PrizePicks, Koski's significant strikes landed has gone down 4 strikes. It's now at 40.5. Jocelyn Edwards' significant strikes has gone up 4 to 84.5. I mean, look, you know, the Dontel Mays under 10-minute fight time is one that does stick out to me. I would still say the under 1.5 takedowns on Mayo Nunes is another one that sticks out to me. Just give you a couple of props that stick out to me over at PrizePicks.
Yeah, I mean, great lines. Definitely great lines. I'm always going to target the significant strikes and the takedowns. The fight time's always tricky because sometimes it's like really, really close, and then you end up just missing out on a payday. And fantasy score is something I wouldn't play, but the significant strikes and takedowns is super, super fun.
Yeah, the best thing that I will say is if you're playing that fantasy score, is if you think a fight's going to end the first round finish 100 points. It's like Michael Morales. I think his number is, it's 112.5. So, I mean, for Michael Morales to pay off that, you need a first round finish, and then, a couple other things go right there. That's a big number there to stick over there. So that's something to check out there. Brad, appreciate you in the super chat. He goes, I have lots of Alves over Dober. Haven't heard that much. Am I off? Look, Alves, to me, if he's going to do it, it's him utilizing the submission, making this a grappling matchup. I mean, look, you talked about on Thursday, one of the question mark you have with Drew Dober is, even though he did get that win against Terrence McKinney, man, Terrence McKinney had a lot of success early.
Oh man, a lot. And, he ran into a knee a couple times, but he also got hit with some big hooks and got sat down. So I do think that Alves has the power to make Dober, take a seat, potentially knock him out, or club and sub opportunity. And we have seen Alves be, opportunistic with the submissions. I like that. Snatching necks is great. Club and sub is always live. So Alves is one of my most exposed underdogs on the slate. But let's call it what it is. He hasn't fought the competition that Drew Dober has. They're both kickboxers and have extensive Muay Thai background. And that was something I learned about Rafael Alves. I'm like, I know that he has a good ground game as well, but he's been competing in Muay Thai for a large majority of his life, similar to Drew Dober. So this could be a 15-minute, striker's paradise if their durability checks out. But as far as underdogs, I think Rafael Alves has some great round 1 and 2 upside.
When I was doing my office hours earlier this afternoon, there's a question that came in that made me go, damn, that's a good question.
Oh, yeah.
Would you value Mays more or Smellsburger?
Damn. I mean, picking the lesser two evils, I guess.
I feel really like there's less volatility on the Smellsburger side, but I feel like the upside is probably more on Mays.
Well, I'm not going to base my answer off of them. I'm going to base it off of their opponent. Let's call it what it is. Semelsberger's facing Alex Morono, who's super well-rounded. He's tough. If the fight hits the mat, he is live to score a submission. And we have seen Semelsberger, exposed on the mat in his most recent fight against AJ Fletcher. I just don't think that Morono has the wrestling or the will to wrestle. Whereas Dontel Mays is fighting a guy that a lot of us don't even think he's UFC level. He's aggressive in round 1, but outside of that, is he truly tested? So I guess I would say Dontel Mays, but I don't love the answer to that question.
One fight that we really haven't talked about so far today, fight on the prelims, Drakkar Klose and Rafa Garcia. Drakkar Klose is one of those guys. I don't want to get there in GPPs for the most part. I mean, I'll take a stab here and there, but he's got a 42% finish rate. So the reality is, if he's going to win, most likely it's via decision. But that fight and the Pantoja Perez fight are two fights I just did not find myself getting to a ton to in GPPs.
Yeah, I'm a little light on that fight, the Drakkar Klose. I'm not even sure if I have a lineup with him, just because I don't think that the performance he put on against Brandon Jenkins, where he scored 134 fantasy points, I don't think that's his norm. I don't think that's, his median type of fantasy score. Like we've seen a lot of the times where he scored 98 against Christos Giagos, but I think his wheelhouse is low 90s. And low 90s for this type of slate, I don't think is going to happen because I don't believe he's going to want to wrestle against Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is going to look to take him down over and over and over, or try to just, stand and trade with him. And I think Close is going to keep it on the feet and win a decision. So my exposure is really light on Drakkar Close, and maybe he's one of the best leverage plays on the slate because a lot of people have the same thinking as me. So if you are an analytical type of player and you're completely data driven, maybe take a stand on Drakkar Close today.
Yeah. I'm just looking look at my 150 crunch. Drakkar Close was 14%.
Yeah, I don't even know if I have a lineup with him. I didn't 150 max today, so that's why I don't have Amanda Nunes. If I was 150 maxing, I would of course have a ton of Amanda Nunes. I might have 1 or 2 lineups of her, but virtually nothing compared to the field, and it's almost impossible to gain ground on the competition when you have so few lineups with one of the chalkiest players out there.
Yeah, I'm looking over, I'm trying to find my crunch for my 20 max here. But 20 max, I have 10% of Drakkar Close.
Okay. Jason, what would be really cool is we have awesome fights tonight at UFC 277. If we could get our likes to 277 to signify an excellent night of DFS for all of us, where we're going to take down that 200K tournament, Team Stokastic, I would love to see it. So please help us get to that 277 likes. I haven't asked for that many, I don't think ever, but I think it'd be cool if we could touch that number.
Sam Pierce with a super chat saying, goes, Rafa Garcia, I got the takedown upside.
I initially knee-jerk reaction. I always tell you when I've just seen these fights before I start doing film study or whatnot, I was picking Rafa Garcia to spoil Drakkar Close. I was just he's looked better. The Kritz Grutzmacher fight is one that left a bad taste in your mouth. And you're like, oh my God, he's going to lose to Drakkar Close. But I feel like his grappling is what makes him so dangerous. He's able to mix it in together. He looked good against Jesse Ronson. So I'm a little light on that fight in general, but I have some Rafa Garcia.
Yeah, I just wanted to try to go back on some of the questions that came in earlier. FanDuel GPP, who do you guys like more, Kim or Lewis? That would be Lewis for me.
I don't hate Kim today. I think she's in a less volatile fight. I think that, if you're looking at her box score and you're looking at her recent run, she's looked like she doesn't belong in the UFC. But if you go back and you watch the film, she throws at a high output, and Jocelyn Edwards is okay. I think that she could be matched on the feet and less volatility. So I will actually say Kim.
Eagle Eye goes, Jason Pete, if you had to go all in on 3 fighters on DraftKings tonight, who would they be? You already know who one of mine is.
Okay, so let's go back and forth. I'm going to say Pena. You're going to go Nunes.
Would she be in my top 3? I mean, Moreno would be my number 1.
Okay.
That's where I would start. The problem is there's matchups that I'm prioritizing, Pete, but they're boom bust and so much volatility on them. Yeah, and thinking of, okay, I need to get to 650 points. I go Moreno.
Okay.
Lewis. And for some reason, I think Hamdy's going to win tonight.
Oh God, I would not feel good about it. I mean, if I could fit Michael Morales in it as price point, Morales would be the third guy. So I would go Morales, Lewis, Moreno. Are you ready for mine?
Okay.
Going Morales, Pena, Moreno.
Okay. I mean, look, the one thing about Juliana Pena is she gives you so much roster flexibility at 7,000.
That's why I did it. Even if she just lives for 15, 20 minutes, she might be able to do enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's where punting, there's no way I'm getting to fug it. If you're doing that, then you're basically saying, goodbye to your lineups.
Yeah. Let's see here. I mean, look, the Pena Nunes conversation is going to be a good one. I mean, look, it's with Pena to me. I think I just, if you knew what the game plan was, it's just like there's been a lot of things that she said in interviews and videos leading up to this that just like, as someone who does have a good amount of opinion in her lineups, like, I hope there's not a false insecurity that she thinks she's the better striker.
Yeah. I don't know. We shall see. Who are we not talking about, Jason? Because I have a name. Let's see if you're on the same wavelength as me. I have a name of somebody that we're not really talking about, and I found myself a little intrigued by it. So last night when I was like, oh, I don't have Mays. Huh? Who is it?
Okay. Based on our conversation, I'm pretty sure you're going to say Anthony Smith.
No, it's not. But
wow. Okay.
I upped the exposure. Ihor Potieria, a guy that, if you look at it, he's had super soft competition. But soft competition, that's the boxing side of things, where they're grooming the fighters to get them to really, reach their potential, and just getting under the lights and experience. He has so many round one wins. I actually made a whole sheet. Potieria has a ridiculous amount of round one wins. So I was like, I'm going to increase my exposure to him. There's no way that I can get away from him. I'm going to pull it up, but go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm going through chat, and one of the things that, someone's talking about, I'm guessing this is more about the issues at ATT.
Yeah.
It's an all-star of Phil Daru, Masvidal beef. Phil Daru has not been with ATT in probably
for a while,
2.5 years.
Yep. Okay. I found
and I'll tell you, I heard some things about that, and that was not a nice split.
Ihor Potieria has 76% of his wins coming in the first round. Pavlovich has 80% of his wins coming in the first round. Just a couple little nuggets out there, and that's why I made to increase my exposure to those guys.
Pena or Alves in cash, which is a safer winner?
Pena and who?
Rafael Alves.
Pena big time.
Yeah, I lean there. Andrew also mentions, and it's a great point, the $14 price tag on Pena on FanDuel is unavoidable. In my lineups over on FanDuel, I did get to Pena over there, but also I wasn't trying to stack, so I was kind of being strategic of how I put my lineups on FanDuel together. Yeah, I would say if I was gonna stack one of the two title fights, it'd be the co-main event.
Everybody talking about the terrible schedule, the strength of schedule of Potieria, completely valid. I understand that completely. Nikolai is so hittable, though, that I wonder if he's able to survive. I know he has so far, and I know that he probably has the wrestling advantage. We just haven't really seen him show off his wrestling. So I think that there's a need to get to some of that unknown, and Potieria definitely has some of that unknown about him. He's an aggressive fighter, and I like aggressive fighters in my lineups.
Richie, I appreciate the super chat, bro. Two favorite top dollar fighters, two favorite dogs, and lastly, Kosuke or Blood Diamond. Enjoy the fights, and thanks for work. First off, on the Kosuke and Blood Diamond, I'm way over the field on Kosuke. I'm just gonna, that's me. I just think his grappling will be the factor that leads him to the win there. But I don't mind taking just punt stabs at Blood Diamond. Like, if you're playing at a 20 max, a 150 max, take some shots at Blood Diamond, but I wouldn't go more than 15% at the most.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate number. That's basically where I'm at today with Blood Diamond, and trust me, I don't like what I see on film. As far as two favorite top dollar fighters, it's going to be Michael Morales for me, number one. Number two is a little tough because I like Ankalaev, but I worry about
I think Anklive's a safer play when it comes to the high 9-in options. I mean, now look, one of the things that he could have the mindset of, I need to do something special to secure a title shot. That could be a mindset. I would probably go Bram Moreno as my number 2.
Yeah, I was thinking
Morales
Morales
number
and
1.
Moreno. I was thinking that. Now, like Ankalaev is fighting a tough opponent in Anthony Smith, right? Like it's still Anthony Smith. There's clearly a path to victory there. Morales is fighting a guy that I think would be competing on Dana White's Contender Series. And I know Morales is coming off of Contender Series in a nice win over Trevin Giles. So how can I hold him in such high regard? I just like everything I'm seeing on film. I really do.
2 favorite dogs.
I'm going to change it up because you guys already know that I like Pena. So I can't like keep beating the Pena drum.
I got to a lot of Rafael Alves and Hamdi.
I'm going to go
those are probably my 2.
And Derek Lewis just because of the salary.
Yeah, I mean, the question I always have with Derek Lewis is just kind of where he's at health wise. You know, the back has always been an issue with him. Yeah, it's just he's always had a bad back.
Somebody said that Derek Lewis has a lot of quit in him, and then somebody responded and said Lewis doesn't have a lot of quit in him. He just has to go to the bathroom. So you know, this is the guy with all the excuses.
Yeah, he had a hilarious interview with Cormier where he talked about that. Of course, we do want to see someone go into the Stokastic Hall of Fame today. Of course, to go into the Stokastic Hall of Fame, you got to be rocking that Stokastic avatar on your DFS profile. Place in the top 3 of contests with over 5,000 contestants. Tweet your wins to @Stokastic HOF. You'll win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. Only 1 free month can be awarded to a user per calendar year. Looking at some of the people that have gone into the Stokastic Hall of Fame over the past couple of days. Congratulations, Dan taking down $30,000 over there on a FanDuel MLB contest. Also, Michael taking down $5,000 over there in a golf contest. Kudos to you. Also, Logan taking down first place there in a F1 contest. No, Logan's always here in terms of our NASCAR content. Also, there you see what Bob was able to win over $37,000. Larry taking down first place MLB contest. Dave taking out first place in MLB contest as well. Kudos to everyone that's taken out a contest over here the past couple of days, and hopefully somebody here in the chat can take down tonight's MMA contest. I know what got Pete over there has just been grinding, you know, just getting no sleep over there, trying to figure out who he's going to get into his winning lineup here. So we do appreciate that there. What haven't we talked about, Pete? Besides just sitting here arguing for about a good 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's okay. The only good thing, right, is that a lot of my lineups revolve around the final fight of the night. So I won't have a terrible night to start off. Sometimes when you're so overexposed on the first fight, it's difficult to sit there and watch the rest of your lineups because you already know you're somewhat dead in the water.
Why do you think I hate the first fight of the night?
Yeah.
For the most part. Either you get off to a great start or you just like literally I'll have my spreadsheet in front of me and literally I just start kind of Xing it out when a fighter loses. And then when I'm just so heavy on the first, like I am today, drinking can happen a little earlier than normal. Sam says, does Kosei missing weight a concern? Is not a concern for me.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We don't know the true ins and outs of it. He seemed disappointed to miss weight, but as a wrestler, it could actually work in his advantage as long as he does not have a terrible gas tank.
It could have been a business decision that was made. Could have very well been. Lucas Smith, appreciate you there in the super chat. Of course, if anybody's got any super chats, you can leave those. Got just a couple more minutes here left before the fights are going to start there in Dallas. Of course, Kosuke and Blood Diamond is going to kick off the card. We really haven't talked much about Morales' opponent.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna. I'm just not.
Adam Fouquet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not gonna today. I mean, he could be the guy that nobody's talking about, and he gets a victory or does enough in a loss. He's been knocked out in the past, and I just think that Morales has so many ways to win. I'd much rather take a stand on somebody like an Alex Perez, who has equal amounts of unknown surrounding him, but at least we do know that there is potential there. He leaves his neck out a lot to get submitted throughout his career. And it seems whenever he's put in a big matchup, yeah, I don't want to say that he quits. He might underperform. He might be a different guy in the gym. So perhaps this time away works in his benefit, but I'm a Pantoja guy, so my lineups have a light amount of Alex Perez.
Lucas' question on his super chat was last man in Alves or Cara France. I have Moreno in this lineup.
Well, I don't want to stack. I mean, stacking's okay. But you need a lot to go right. You need a lot of underdogs to crap out, and you also need it to go 5 rounds with crazy intensity and crazy volume. That's one thing I didn't do today in the GPPs. I wish I should have done it. I should have stacked.
If it was a smaller field, I'd be more interested in stacking. If it's a large field, I probably would not stack.
I think the safer play is to stack.
Could be, yeah.
You know, like if you're talking about Alves, who has he beaten? Yeah, I know he's dangerous, but who has he beaten? And he's facing Drew Dober. I like Alves, but as far as like just getting points, who has the safer route to getting to 50 points? Might be Cara France.
Yeah. Rick says, talk about Smith's routes to victory. He's got to keep the fight standing. He's got to keep it at range. I think if this becomes to where Ankalaev can just really make this an inside type fight, even if it's just a fight that plays out on the feet, to me, Anthony has got to keep this at range.
Yeah, I mean, a submission off of his back, perhaps catching a big shot.
And I think the fact that he was working with Ray and Steven Thompson, I think alludes to that's probably why he went to that camp.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's been all over the country getting ready for this fight. And Anthony Smith, he feels highly disrespected on his betting odds. I mean, look, is it a wide line? No question, it's a wide line.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, I was listening to him, and he's 20-5 in his past 25 fights. But the same question that you proposed to me before the show is, okay, who's his best win throughout that? Yeah, you know, a lot of his losses are, you know, during the early years of his professional career where he was making a lot of mistakes and probably shouldn't be doing some of the things that he was doing. But he's always disrespected. I was picking him to beat Glover Teixeira in hindsight 2020. That was a horrible take.
Did not age well.
The veneers just getting blasted across the octagon. He's like, I'm losing my teeth. I'm like, imagine me being on, you know, on our channel touting Anthony Smith, and then his veneers are getting blasted from left and right. It's like, there's going to be bad takes every now and then. And that Glover Teixeira is just renaissance and just turning the corner in his career and looking better than he ever did was crazy.
It makes you think about, you know, there's adversity that happens in fights, and it's like, okay, how do you react to it? It makes me think of, I did an interview yesterday with Lima Lay McFarland. She's got a fight here in 2 weeks in Bellator. She was talking about her last fight where, you know, she basically, her arm went numb and she couldn't throw it. And she goes, at that point, I'm like, oh crap. And he goes, I guess I should probably learn how to throw kicks.
Yeah. The clarity of what you should be doing when things are going terrible is like, wow, I should have worked more on my takedown defense or something, you know. It's like,
yeah, it makes you think like way back in the day when Uriah Faber took on Jose Aldo in the WEC. Faber broke both of his hands, and so literally he's just throwing kicks and elbows.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, he broke both of his hands. He was getting leg kicked to death, and you're a wounded animal in there. And I shout out to Faber, incredible heart, and he just starts bombing away elbows. I remember watching that. I was a WEC fan, man. Like, you know, WEC was what got me into fighting. So yeah, I could sit back and watch old WEC film all day long.
But yeah, by the way, I want to end on this little fun conversation here. I mentioned this on my podcast this week. You can watch tonight's pay-per-view with 3 people in the MMA industry. Who you picking? I'll tell you my picks.
Okay.
Number 1, Bisping. Number 2, Cejudo. So I can get some analysis on the co-main event.
Never Cejudo. I'll chill with Bisping, no problem.
3, Paul Feldman.
Yeah, I'll chill with my boy Paul.
I almost said Danny Sabatello, but I thought him and Bisping, that'd be an odd combination.
Bro, that is an obnoxious group of people. There's no way. I think I'd be Rogan, Bisping, I used to love Brian Stan, so I'm going to say Brian Stan.
My co-host Daniel brought up a great name that I had not even thought of.
Oh,
Joe Silva, the old UFC matchmaker.
interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Thought that was an interesting one. You know, threw that one out there. But of course, we appreciate everyone tuned in here for Live Before Lock. Of course, come up here in about 15 minutes from now. You got the MLB shows, guys, to get you ready for tonight's MLB slate. Of course, appreciate everyone tuning in. Be sure to smash that thumbs up button. You're not subscribed to Stokastic, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when a show is live here on the channel. Hopefully everyone has a great Saturday evening, and we will talk to you next week right here on the Stokastic.com Live Before Lock show. Have a good night, everybody.